Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting sick to the back teeth of the so-called conservatives claiming they're for this and that while they do the complete opposite. Yes, we know they're about as conservative as Joseph Stalin, but that's what they call themselves all the time. It's an utter joke and should fall under false advertising, but that's another thing altogether. Now, as you know, they claim to be against all this woke nonsense that's infecting the Western world, all while they go full tilt towards left-wing wokeness that Labour would be proud of.
Also that we're building back better together, and building back greener, and building back fairer, and building back more equal, and in a more gender-neutral and perhaps a more feminine way. How about that?
What a wanker.
They can try and hide it all they like, but more are seeing it every day. I say that because in case you hadn't noticed, many of their voters have woken up to this, especially if comment sections and real life are anything to go by, but obviously some are still sucking on the tea. Those ones there are either stupid or brainwashed because most people now fail to see any difference between Labour and the Tories, or commie-servatives as they should be called. Both are obviously completely out of touch with the public, likely on purpose, and both hate our guts with a passion. Labour out and out despise the population openly, while the Tories hide it as they know it's a route to power. I mean, take a look at any aspect of this government and tell me it's not a complete woke joke, implementing Labour policies and talking points while stringing its supporters along.
Do you think, as some senior politicians in Britain seem to, that President Biden is woke?
You know, insofar as nothing wrong being woke, but what I can tell you is that I think that it's very, very important for everybody to, and certainly I will put myself in the category of people who believe that it's important to stick up for your history, your traditions, and your values and things you believe in.
I don't fucking believe it.
You better believe it, because it's fucking happening.
In my mind, they're literally a bunch of weapon-grade wankstains, but that goes without saying for many. This net zero push, though, means the government essentially is a Green Party. That's what people, it seems, have voted for. All it had was Brexit tacked on, which is obviously not what they wanted. And this can literally be seen in any comment sections, from YouTube to the likes of The Telegraph and more. The Telegraph, as I've said before, is a Tory hardcore paper, let's be honest. But their comment section on net zero is literally walls of people calling out Boris Johnson and his eco-warrior cum-bucket wife, that, let's be honest, is the leader on this green shit, I would bet, and maybe even more. And to reinforce this even more shit, you only need to look at the Telegraph's letter section today. It's people calling out the deluded stupidity of this government, including Tory members, or former Tory members should we say. Many, it seems, are leaving, as you can see, and others are pointing out the electoral shitstorm that's heading the Tories' way, provided of course they don't fudge the vote, that is. But some are even saying we should have a referendum on this, which of course I would support. But once again, do you trust this government, or Parliament in general, to hold a free and fair vote?
Number 4, as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye! Of the contrary, no. Aye! Could I have the noes again? No! I'm afraid, I fear, the mood of the House is not to have a vote on this.
But our democracy itself.
So I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it.
I know for a fact I don't after the past 580 days of 14 days to flatten the curve. That is something I'll tell you now without any doubt. And then you have to consider the fact that the establishment lost the Brexit vote in 2016. I doubt they're going to let us have another one regardless of anything. Now though, moving on, it's not just net zero that's obviously alienating people at record pace. You also have their claims on defending free speech and stopping cancel culture and all of that. I say claims because that is what they are, let's be honest. When it's needed for PR, they will defend a teacher from screaming lunatics online or in university campuses saying that we defend free speech. But with their upper hand, they push for censorship, mass state control and the eradication of free speech online. For instance, the slaying of the MP in Southend recently being used as an excuse to limit freedoms online despite it being an Islamist attack is one example of that. Massive and obvious elephants in the room are ignored because their agenda is total power and control. I mean, it baffles me how they could swing it from Islamists to ban anonymous online accounts, but with a corrupt and complicit media, that is what's gonna happen. Now, of course, some in the media have finally started spotting this and actually calling it out, though it's not always the British media that's doing that. The Telegraph has columnists and, like I said, letters to the editor doing it, but other media outlets also do it, though let's be honest, it's not often. The public, on the other hand, absolutely roast them constantly in comment sections, as we've seen earlier and I've said before, but media tosspots are often silent on this. This time the calling out has been left to Breitbart over in America because our corrupt media are in league with their good pal Boris. As I've said before, this is the same media fuckpigs who called him a dictator for closing Parliament in 2019, to implement the will of the people during Brexit, but now support him ruling by decree. Gina Miller is missing like a fart in the wind when Parliament is actually bypassed to restrict the freedoms of the public and fuck the country up. It's a rather funny one that there, if you ask me. Breitbart, though, are pointing out what I've said in previous videos and one I said at the time. The Tories are ignoring elephants in the room to shamelessly use a slain MP as justification to control free speech online. All of this while running around claiming that they support free speech and are not as woke as the wankers over in Labour. Shit, even Tory boys like Tom Harwood from GB News called out the government on this one. Usually, as you know, he's towing the line like a good little boy, but not now. I guess even this is too blatant for him to ignore, and if you ask me, that is good. The more people that see it, the more people that see this tosspot Boris Johnson and his government are nothing more than a bunch of woke wankstains like I've said. But any time this government does shit like this, it literally needs to be shared around constantly, showing the Tories like Labour do not support free speech and are just talking shit to you every single time. As I've said before, they're all the same and both take part in their own cancel culture when someone says something that they don't like. These commie-serbatives need to be called out like we did Labour for years. As many of you will know, their allegiance is to each other and their puppet masters is certainly not to us. This is why my allegiance has never been to a political party and never will. It's always to the people in this country. As my older viewers will know, I supported the Tories getting Brexit done, but the second they turned against the population, they joined Labour on my shit list. If you go against the interests of the public, you're nothing more than a septic spot on the arse of humanity in my mind. It's plain and fucking simple.